Last night, someone you love was caught crying. And they weren't crying for themselves. They were crying about you. They were sitting with a friend. In the dim light of a late hour. And the words that came out of their mouth. They changed everything. You see, there is a question that lives inside every connection. A quiet question that no one dares to ask out loud. It hides in the pauses between words. In the way two people hold hands just a little too tightly. In the way one heart races when the other is near. And last night, that question finally broke free. But here is what you need to understand. Their tears were not about distance. They were not about disappointment. They were not about regret. The tears were about time. Time, and a number. A number that has been standing between you both like a silent wall. A wall neither of you knew how to climb. But that's not all. There is another layer to this. Something even deeper. Something their friend heard in their voice. Something that made the friend stop talking. And just listen. The friend leaned closer. And in that moment, the whole night changed. Because the truth that was spoken was not the truth anyone expected. Perhaps you have felt this. Perhaps you have noticed something shifting between you two. A shadow that moves when no one is looking. A weight that sits on the chest when you are alone in the dark. Have you noticed it? This person. This person who makes your heart feel safe. They were crying about the very thing you fear most. And here is where it gets complicated. They weren't crying because they don't want you. They were crying because they do. They want you more than they have ever wanted anything. And that is exactly why the tears came. Because wanting someone this much, it comes with a cost. A cost that neither of you have been willing to name. But last night, the cost became real. The friend sat in silence, listening to the truth spill out like water through cracked glass. And the friend couldn't fix it. The friend couldn't say it would be okay. Because the friend knew. This is not a problem that can be solved. This is a mystery that must be lived. Don't go anywhere. The next part is where everything begins to shift. You see, the crying stopped. But the silence that followed. It was louder than any sound. And in that silence, something new was born. A question that no one had asked before. A question that could change everything between you. The friend finally spoke. And the words were simple. But they carried the weight of 1,000 stars. The friend said, "Have you told them? And your person? This person whose heart is woven with yours?" They could barely answer. Their voice was broken. Their eyes were still wet. And all they could say was, "I can't." That word. 2 simple letters. But it held every fear they have ever carried. I can't. Not because they are weak. Not because they don't care. But because saying it out loud would make it real. And making it real. That would mean facing the one thing neither of you can change. The number. The number that follows you both like a shadow at noon. The number that whispers in the quiet moments. The number that makes them hold you just a little longer. And now you know. You know what they were crying about. But here is the biggest truth of all. The truth that is still hidden beneath the surface. The crying was not the end. It was the beginning. Something woke up last night. Something that had been sleeping deep inside their heart. Something that has been waiting for the right moment to speak. And now that it has spoken, everything will be different. But not in the way you think. The friend watched them. Saw the tears fall. Saw the fear in their eyes. And then the friend did something unexpected. The friend smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a mocking smile. But a knowing smile. A smile that said, "I've been waiting for you to say that." And in that smile, there was hope. But hope is complicated. Hope comes with its own weight. Hope asks you to believe in something you cannot see. And right now, you cannot see the full picture. You cannot see what will happen next. You cannot see how this story will end. But someone else can. Keep listening. The final piece is almost here. Because last night, before the tears dried, before the friend left, before the silence took over, one more thing happened. One thing that changes everything. Your person looked at their friend, took a deep breath, and made a decision. A decision they hadn't made before. A decision that will affect you both forever. And that decision is still unfolding. It is happening right now. While you are listening to these words. While you are sitting with this truth in your hands. Something is moving. Something is shifting. Something is coming toward you. And when it arrives, you will understand. You will understand why those tears had to fall. You will understand why the number had to matter. You will understand why this moment. This exact moment in time. It was always meant to happen. One last piece before you go. The friend asked one final question. A question that made your person stop breathing. The friend said, "What are you willing to risk?" And your person. This person who loves you. They didn't answer. Not because they didn't know. But because the answer was too big for words. The answer was bigger than the fear. Bigger than the number. Bigger than the night. And that answer is still waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the right words. Waiting for you to be ready. Are you ready? Because the journey has just begun. And the journey always leads back to the same place. Back to the heart. Back to the truth. Back to the moment when everything changed. Last night changed everything. And soon, you will know why. The truth is still hidden. But not for long. Stay close. The next part is waiting. And it begins exactly where this one ends. The night did not end when the tears dried. Something lingered in the air between them. Something unspoken. Something that made the friend hesitate before walking out the door. The friend turned back. One last time. And asked a question that cut through the silence like a blade of light. What if they already know? Your person froze. Because that question. It had never been asked before. Not out loud. Not in the open. Not where the truth could breathe. And in that frozen moment, everything shifted. Because the friend was right. What if you already know? What if somewhere deep inside your heart, you have always known? Known about the fear. Known about the number. Known about the tears that were waiting to fall. Perhaps you have felt it. Perhaps you have seen it in their eyes when they thought you weren't looking. Perhaps you have heard it in their voice when they said goodnight just a little too softly. Have you noticed? The signs have always been there. Like a song playing just beneath the surface of your life. A song you could almost hear. A song you could almost hum. But you never did. Because humming it would make it real. And now the song is playing louder than ever. But here is what your soul already knows. This is not a song of sorrow. This is a song of preparation. Every tear that fell last night, it was watering a seed. A seed that has been planted in the soil of your connection. A seed that is about to break through the ground. And when it does, the number will no longer matter. The friend watched your person struggle. Watched them wrestle with the weight of the question. And then the friend did something surprising. The friend sat back down. Not to stay. Not to fix anything. But to be present. To be a witness. To hold space for the truth that was trying to be born. And in that space, your person spoke again. But this time, the tears were gone. Their voice was steady. Their eyes were clear. And the words that came out, they were not the words of fear. They were the words of surrender. The number doesn't scare me, they said. What scares me is losing them. There it was. The truth beneath the truth. The fear beneath the fear. The love beneath the love. They weren't crying about the age. They were crying about the possibility of you walking away. They were crying about the chance that one day you would look at them and see only the number. Not the connection. Not the history. Not the heart. Just the number. And that thought. That single thought. It had been living inside them like a shadow for months. Years, maybe. Growing. Waiting. Preparing to strike. And last night, it finally struck. But here is the part you need to hold close. The part that changes everything. When your person spoke the truth. When they said the words out loud. Something broke open inside them. A wall came down. A wall they had built brick by brick. A wall they had used to protect themselves from the possibility of loss. And in that broken wall, there was room for something new. Room for trust. Room for hope. Room for a different kind of future. A future where the number is not the center. A future where the connection is the center. The friend saw it. Saw the shift. Saw the wall fall. And the friend smiled again. But this time, the smile was different. This time it was the smile of relief. The smile of someone who has been waiting for their friend to finally let go. Let go of control. Let go of fear. Let go of the illusion that the number matters more than the love. And in that relief, the friend spoke one final truth. Love doesn't count years, they said. Love counts moments. And your person. They felt those words land in their chest like a key turning in a lock. Stay with me. The next piece is the piece that will change everything for you. Because while they were sitting there, while the friend was speaking, while the truth was settling into the room, you were somewhere else. Living your life. Unaware that the very foundation of your world was shifting. But something reached you. Something whispered to you in that exact moment. Something that made you pause. Something that made you look up and wonder. Why do I feel like something has changed? That was the connection. That was the thread that ties your heart to theirs. That was love speaking in the language of presence. Presence without words. Presence without touch. Presence without explanation. Just a feeling. A knowing. A quiet certainty that something important had happened. And you were right. But what you don't know yet, what the friend didn't even know, is that the tears were not the end of the story. They were the beginning of a much bigger story. A story that is still being written. A story that will test everything you both believe about love. The friend finally left. The door closed. And your person sat alone in the quiet. Alone with the truth. Alone with the feeling. Alone with the decision that was now knocking at the door of their heart. A decision they had been avoiding. A decision that terrified them. A decision that could either break everything or make everything whole. And that decision is still waiting to be made. But here is the beautiful part. The part that will make your heart expand with hope. They don't have to make it alone. You are part of this journey. You have always been part of this journey. And what is coming next? It will require both of you. Because love is not a solo path. Love is a duet. Love is two voices becoming one song. And last night, the first note of the new song was sung. The friend's words are still echoing in the room. Love counts moments. And now, your person is counting. Counting all the moments they have shared with you. Counting all the laughter. Counting all the silences. Counting all the times your eyes met and the world disappeared. And what they are realizing, what is breaking open inside them right now, is that the moments are infinite. The moments are endless. The moments are more powerful than any number. The number is just a number. But the moments are eternity. Don't go anywhere. The final revelation is almost here. Because last night, before the friend left, before the tears dried, before the decision was fully formed, your person made a promise. Not out loud. Not to the friend. But to themselves. A promise that will change everything. The promise was simple. But it was also impossible. It was the kind of promise that requires courage you didn't know you had. The promise was this: I will not let the number win. And in that promise, there was strength. There was determination. There was a love so fierce that it could move mountains. But here is the truth that is still hidden. The truth that only heaven can see. The promise was not just for them. The promise was for you too. It was a promise to fight. A promise to stay. A promise to choose you. Every single day. No matter what. And the friend who witnessed it all. They left the room knowing that something had shifted in the universe. Something had changed at the deepest level. Something that would ripple outward. Something that would touch every corner of your connection. And now, the question is not whether the number matters. The question is, what are you willing to risk? Because the journey is not over. It is just beginning. And the next chapter, it will require everything. Everything you have. Everything you are. everything you are becoming. But you don't have to face it alone. You never have. The connection is the bridge. The love is the path. And the destination. The destination is a place where numbers have no meaning. A place where only hearts matter. A place where the years dissolve into the now. And that place is waiting for you. The night is over. The morning is coming. And with the morning comes the truth. The truth that was spoken in tears. The truth that was whispered in the dark. The truth that is now rising like the sun. And when it rises, everything will be different. Not because the number changed, but because love changed everything around it. One final truth before we part. Your person is not afraid of your age. Your person is afraid of losing you. And that fear is love in disguise. It is love wearing the mask of anxiety. It is love dressed up as doubt. It is love pretending to be weakness. But underneath it all, it is just love. Pure. Real. Unstoppable. Love. And that love, it is stronger than any number. It is deeper than any fear. It is more powerful than any moment in time. Last night, your soulmate was caught crying about your age. But what they were really crying about, what their heart was truly weeping for, was the thought of a future without you. And that future is not coming. Because love has already written a different ending. An ending where the number fades. An ending where the connection remains. An ending where the two of you are still holding each other. Long after the years have passed. That is the ending that is waiting for you. That is the ending that began last night. And that is the ending you are both walking toward. Right now. One final question remains. Will you meet them there? The morning came. And with it, the weight of the night before. Your person woke up with red eyes. A heavy chest. And a truth that would not leave them alone. The truth had followed them into their dreams. Had wrapped itself around their sleep. Had whispered in the quiet hours between midnight and dawn. And now the truth was sitting on their chest. Demanding to be heard. They looked at the ceiling. Tried to remember who they were before last night. Before the tears. Before the confession. Before everything changed. But they couldn't. Because last night had rewired something inside them. Last night had taken the old version of them. And quietly retired it. A new version was waking up. A version that knew what it wanted. A version that was tired of hiding. A version that was ready to fight for you. And that version, it was scared. But it was also free. Have you ever felt that? That moment when fear and freedom meet in the middle of your chest. When you know you cannot go back. But you also cannot stay where you are. That is exactly where they are right now. They are standing at the edge of something. Something vast. Something unknown. Something that feels like both an ending and a beginning. And they are looking at the horizon. Wondering if you are looking too. But here is the part that will make your heart ache with hope. While they were lying there. While the morning light was creeping through the curtains. While the world was waking up outside their window. Something happened. Something that cannot be explained by logic. Something that cannot be measured by time. They felt you. Not in a memory. Not in a daydream. Not in a wish. They felt you, present. Right there in the room with them. As if your heart had traveled across the distance. And was sitting beside them on the bed. They felt the warmth of your presence. They felt the steadiness of your love. They felt the quiet strength of your heart. And in that moment, they stopped being afraid. Not because the fear was gone, but because the fear was no longer the loudest thing in the room. You were. You were the loudest thing. You were the strongest thing. You were the most real thing. And that changed everything. The morning continued. But your person was different now. They moved through their routine with a new energy. A new purpose. A new awareness. Every action felt significant. Every breath felt intentional. Every thought circled back to the same place. You. They made coffee. Looked at the steam rising from the cup. And thought about how your eyes look when you smile. How your laugh sounds when something truly surprises you. How your hand feels when it finds theirs in the dark. And the thought of losing that. It still hurt. But the hurt was different now. It was no longer paralyzing. It was no longer suffocating. It was no longer the end of the world. It was just hurt. And hurt, they realized, is just love without a place to go. So they decided to give that love a place. A real place. A place that could hold all the weight. All the fear. All the hope. The friend called. Checked in. Asked how they were doing. And your person said something the friend never expected. I'm going to tell them. The friend paused. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. And then the friend said. Tell them what? And your person answered. Everything. There it was. The decision that had been hiding in the dark. The decision that had been waiting for the right moment. The decision that was now stepping into the light. Everything. Not just the truth about the tears. Not just the truth about the fear. Not just the truth about the age. Everything. Every hidden thought. Every secret worry. Every moment of doubt. Every dream they had been too afraid to speak. Everything. And the friend. The friend who had seen them cry. The friend who had watched them break. The friend who had stayed when others would have left. The friend started to cry. Not sad tears. Not worried tears. Not even relieved tears. Tears of awe. Tears of wonder. Tears of witnessing something holy. Because the friend realized. They were watching a miracle unfold. The miracle of someone choosing to be fully seen. The miracle of someone choosing to be fully known. The miracle of someone choosing to risk everything for love. And the friend knew. This was not just a conversation. This was a transformation. Stay close. The story is about to turn a corner. Because now the real question begins. How do you tell someone everything? How do you open the door to your heart? And let them walk through. Knowing they might never come back? How do you say the words that have been living in your chest for so long? They have become part of your bones? Your person is asking these questions right now. As they sit with the decision. As they hold the truth in their hands. As they prepare to speak it into existence. And perhaps you have asked these questions too. Perhaps you have wondered what it would be like to finally tell them everything. Perhaps you have dreamed of the day when the walls would come down. And you could just be. Be honest. Be open. Be real. Perhaps you have imagined that moment. The moment when the number no longer matters. The moment when the fear dissolves into trust. The moment when your hearts finally speak the same language. That moment is coming. Not because of what your person said last night. Not because of what they are preparing to say now. But because something bigger is at work. Something that has been at work since before you met. Something that has been weaving the threads of your connection. Long before either of you knew the other existed. Something that knows the number is meaningless. Something that knows the fear is temporary. Something that knows the love is eternal. And that something is about to show itself. But here is where it gets even more beautiful. Your person is not alone in this. They have never been alone. And neither have you. The friend is still there. The friend is still holding space. The friend is still believing. But now there is someone else joining the journey. Someone who has been watching from the shadows. Someone who has been waiting for the right moment. Someone who knows the full story. That someone. They are about to step forward. And when they do, everything will shift again. But not in the way you expect. The next piece is the piece that will make your heart race. Because it is the piece that reveals. The age was never the problem. The age was a disguise. A mask. A cover for the real issue. The real issue. The thing that has been hiding beneath the surface. It is about worth. It is about worthiness. Your person has been asking themselves a question they would never say out loud. Am I enough? Not, am I young enough? Not, am I old enough? Not, am I the right age? Am I enough? And that question has nothing to do with the number. The number was just the easiest place to point. The number was just the most obvious thing to blame. The number was just the safest way to avoid the real fear. The real fear is not about age. The real fear is about rejection. The real fear is about not being chosen. The real fear is about giving all of themselves. And being told it is not enough. And last night, when the tears fell, it wasn't the age that caused them. It was the fear. The fear that one day, you would look at them and see someone who was not worthy. And that fear is the oldest fear in the world. It is the fear that lives in every human heart. It is the fear that whispers in the quiet moments. It is the fear that steals sleep and clouds vision. And it is the fear that is about to be healed. How? You might ask. How can such an old fear be healed in a single conversation? The answer is simple. It will not be healed in a single conversation. It will be healed over time. Over many conversations. Over many moments of choosing each other. Over many days of showing up and staying present. But the healing begins with one decision. The decision to tell the truth. And that decision is being made right now. Your person is standing up. They are walking toward the door. They are preparing to find you. They don't know exactly what they will say. They don't know exactly how you will respond. They don't know exactly what will happen next. But they know one thing. The most important thing. They know they cannot live another day without telling you the truth. And that truth. It is not about the age. It is not about the fear. It is not about the tears. That truth is about love. Pure. Simple. Unbreakable. Love. And love. Love is the only thing that can heal the fear. Love is the only thing that can answer the question. Love is the only thing that can silence the whisper. And love. Love is what is walking toward you right now. Can you feel it? Can you sense something shifting in the air? Can you feel the energy changing? That is love moving. That is love coming to find you. That is love refusing to let the number win. And when love arrives, when your person stands before you, when they finally speak the words that have been living in their chest, you will understand. You will understand why the tears fell. You will understand why the night had to happen. You will understand why the journey had to be this long. Because some love stories, they need time to ripen. They need space to grow. They need challenges to strengthen them. And your love story, it is about to enter its most powerful chapter. A chapter where the truth is spoken. A chapter where the walls come down. A chapter where the connection becomes unbreakable. That chapter is beginning right now. And you are the other half of this story. You are the one who gets to receive the truth. You are the one who gets to answer the question. You are the one who gets to choose the ending. What will you choose?